Show. We are going to talk about transfer portal players. We're going to talk a little bit more recruiting news. We are going to basically run the gamut of Arizona athletics. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it again, Locked On Wildcats. All right, we're going to talk transfer portal possibilities. We are going to talk some recruiting. We are going to talk basically everything under the moon right here. But first, want to rehash a little bit about what we talked about yesterday and about just how privileged Arizona is in the 2024 class to be getting two players of the ilk of Carter Bryant and Jamari Phillips. Now, with Jamari Phillips, like I said, I think that he's pretty underrated on the national scene right now. I think you're going to see him jump up, as you should see him jump up, because again, he's got big time potential right there. And not only does he have big time potential, I think he's the kind of player that when you extrapolate out, you can tell that, man, this guy has real NBA potential right here. Not only does he have real NBA potential, he also has the ability to be an All-American, I think, at the college level. And probably a 2-year guy, but again, there's nothing wrong with that at all. As a matter of fact, I prefer that, and I think Tommy Lloyd, in his heart of hearts, prefers that one as well. Now, let's talk about where this team really is right here. What this means exactly. So you can pencil, I don't know exactly what the roster composition is going to be next year, but I think you could pencil Jamari Phillips in the 24-25 roster as a starter, because you watch him, you can tell that he is physically ready to do this. He is physically ready to get this going. And there's a variety of reasons why, like we talked about the other day. He can shoot the ball. He can get to the hoop. He can cause problems defensively. And as his father astutely pointed out, he's a strong kid as well. So again, there's a lot to like about him and what he can really do out there. Now, some of the other things that I think Arizona fans need to look at are, when you're looking at Jamari Phillips, is, what kind of dude is he? What kind of chemistry does he bring to the team? I am going to sit here and tell you that he's going to bring great chemistry, because again, with Lloyd, we've talked about this from day one. He wants chemistry. He wants guys that are going to be able to fit in well with what he wants to do and let them go at the same time. And I think that's something that's pretty cool. Honestly, I think that's something that makes a ton of sense. I wish that Lloyd would be maybe not quite as circumspect in his recruiting offers. But again, if it's going to work, it's going to work, and we'll find out about that one there for sure. But again, Jaden Bradley, just a huge pickup for the University of Arizona, and I think somebody we should all be thrilled to welcome into the fold, because again, this kid wants to be a Wildcat. He's really, really good. You're getting him out of Southern California as well. So again, there's a lot to like about what Jamari Phillips brings to the table. And then Carter Bryant, like we talked about yesterday, the big dog right here. Carter Bryant is a fantastic prospect. And just like Jamari Phillips, it makes a lot of sense why Tommy Lloyd recruited him. Because first and foremost, you can tell that he is a player that not only does he get it big picture, and I think that's something that I think a lot of fans need to understand here. Again, it's about recruiting good people. It's about recruiting guys that fit into your system. And Jamari Phillips and Carter Bryant both check off those boxes in a big, big way. But also finding guys stylistically that fit in with what you want to do. Because again, everybody in basketball has different goals. Everybody has different ambitions. that's just kind of, I think that's just kind of the way that it is in the grand scheme of things. And both these kids, they obviously want to get to the NBA, and and let's be honest here. I mean, that's why kids play. They play to get to the NBA. And any kid that says that they don't really care about playing in the NBA is probably not being totally straightforward with you. So there's that right there. But I think what also is you also have to be able to find the right fits, the guys that want to go about doing it the right way. And both these guys do it. Now, you look at Carter Bryant, he can do a lot of different things out there. One of my few gripes is I wish he would be maybe a little bit more aggressive, because again, he can really play. I'd like to see him not have games where he's only shooting it 4 or 5 times, but you could also factor that in, though, as him being a team player, as him being the guy that wants to that wants to do things the right way, for lack of a better term. And I think that's kind of where you're at with him. Now, I do believe that with Arizona, there's a couple things you have to figure out, though, with both these guys. But the best thing about it is exactly where they all fit into the grand scheme of things, though, because neither one of these guys are going to be high maintenance basketball players. Neither one of these guys are going to have to look around and say, all right, well, here's the game plan, but we got to make sure that so-and-so is happy, or so-and-so. These guys aren't built like that. These guys are both winners, and they're both great kids, you can tell by the way. So again, there's that in play. And there's a reason that Tommy Lloyd prioritized them. And Jack Murphy, we got to give Jack Murphy a lot of credit here as well, because again, Jack Murphy was the one who put them out there and said that you got to be able to get these kids. You got to be able to recruit them in a manner they see fit. And again, that's what I think is also exciting about this, getting both these kids, is that these kids could go really anywhere they wanted. I mean, we need to be honest here. These kids could both go anywhere they wanted. And I think what's impressive about this entire thing, though, is not only could they go everywhere they wanted, they're capable of being able to not only go anywhere they wanted, but they're ideal fits. And that's what I think you want to find if you're Arizona. You want to be able to find the ideal fits here. And I think that's that's a great thing to be able to look at here. I'm also excited, though, to be able to see where in the grand scheme of things Arizona can get, because again, you want to be able to extrapolate out that 2024 class. You want to be able to get to that maybe get a couple more players, because again, we've talked about this from day one. And not only have we talked about this from day one, we've talked about this not only have we talked about this from day one, but 2024, I think, is really the class where you're going to find out exactly where everything stands as far as Lloyd's recruiting. Can Lloyd bring in the kind of players that Can Lloyd bring in the kind of guys that he needs to be able to win at the highest level? Now, again, we know internationally that he can do that. And internationally, I don't think that there's any doubts about that. But there's also a few things that I'd like to see maybe work out to a little bit. But again, 2024 is that class. Now, some of the other names that you might put in there, we've talked about it before, but Didon Thomas is another name Didon Thomas, that's another name that you want to be able to, you'd love to be able to get. Now, I don't know that Arizona is going to be able to get him. And yeah, to be honest with you, I would be a little surprised, because again, he's a legacy kid out of UNLV, and you always hear the rumors are that he will end up probably at UNLV, maybe Houston, not sure, but it's going to be probably one of those two schools right there. So again, you got to look at that. Then another guy, Zoom Diallo, don't know where Zoom's going to go, but I would be surprised if he goes to the University of Arizona, a because again, it just doesn't feel like Arizona is going to get him. But I will say that with him, there's Arizona's recruiting him. You got Steve Robinson out there again. So there's that. But another guy that I would probably offer would be LeBaron Falone. Great name, by the way, out of Alabama, decommitted from Auburn earlier. And I think what's incredibly enticing about him is his size already. He's a bigger kid, and he's pretty athletic. There's a lot to like about him right there. I do think right now that Arizona is probably working from behind because Muss is basic. Or Eric Musselman from Alabama is on there, and whenever Muss gets involved on a kid, I get a little bit concerned because again, Muss is a pretty good recruiter, and Alabama's got money. Not super ecstatic about that. Now, but again, Arkansas is good. You understand why they want to be able to do that. Now, let's also talk about something else that's good right here, and that is FanDuel. All right, you might say to yourself, where can I get FanDuel? FanDuel is FanDuel. The reason that there's FanDuel is so universally respected is because it's good money. You can put in your good money, and you know what? You're going to get good money out of it. And that's why you like FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. Check it out. Again, you can bet in-game. You can bet out of game. You name it, they got it. And again, this is a great time of the year because you got NBA playoffs going on. Then you got baseball. You got a variety of different things that you can look at. And FanDuel is here to be able to help support you throughout this entire equation. So again, check it out. FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the roster construction, some of the other players, but for now, we need to talk about Jaden Bradley. Jaden Bradley, you might say, man, that name's familiar. It's because you're smart, and it is familiar. Jaden Bradley, kid that went to Alabama out of high school. Originally, again, Arizona thought that they had a really good chance of getting him. He went to Alabama, and he didn't play a ton. He played some, but he didn't play a ton. But you also got to remember, though, when you go to Alabama, that was probably the most talented team in the country right there. So you can't really knock a kid for not playing a ton at the most talented team or on the most talented squad in the country. But here's what you like. 6 points, couple assists, decent field goal percentage, and he gives you a nice little, I would say a nice little buffer zone. How about that? A nice little buffer zone for the Kylan Boswell, because again, I don't look at Kylan Boswell and say that that's a great NBA prospect, but like we just talked about earlier, every kid wants to get into the NBA. And not only does every kid want to get into the NBA, they want to be able to succeed in the NBA. And that's kind of where it is with him. But again, Jaden Bradley, I think he projects as a multi-year guy here. You love to be able to bring in a player of his ilk because, again, Jaden Bradley, the great thing about Jaden Bradley is Jaden Bradley can play. You need guys on the perimeter that you know can play. And I think that's what's exciting about a player of his ilk is that, yes, you bring him in and he might not be a star. And again, I think sometimes people need to revamp their expectations to a certain extent of, you know, what they're hoping for in a player like that. And I think the big reason why is because, yes, when you're a 5-star, you know, you expect that. But we talked about not all 5 stars are created equal around here. And not only are not all 5 stars not created equal, they are, you know, it's not, hold on. They're not only all 5 stars created equal. sometimes guys are a little bit better. So again, but he is the guy that he comes in. He's the kind of guy that you come in and he plays it. He can play immediately, and I think that he can be a long-term solution as well. And I think that's what's exciting about this entire situation here with the University of Arizona right here is that you can get these guys, and not only can you bring them in, but you can look into the future. Because again, how many times have we talked about this with Tommy Lloyd? Tommy Lloyd is looking for fit and guys that are going to be here. Jaden Bradley would be a multi-year player who would not only be here, but he could be the backbone of some teams. Again, just because a kid doesn't go in anywhere and average 35 points per game as a freshman doesn't mean that he can't play. Doesn't mean that he's overrated. Again, Alabama last year is probably a tough sample size because Alabama was probably, again, the most talented team in the country. So you got to be able to take that into account there, ladies and gentlemen, because, again, that part matters right there. Now, who else? Now, Olivier Kumwa from Tennessee, probably not coming to the University of Arizona. Sounds like he might be pursuing a professional route. Wish him nothing but the best. He would have been a nice little addition here, but it doesn't seem like Arizona's going to get him. Then the other guy, too, is Julius Tabellis. Definitely going to – I would assume he is not coming back. I would be very surprised if Julius Tabellis is coming back to the U of A, which – I get, because look at it this way. Zoo is a very, very good player, but Zoo also is, I think Zoo's kind of maxed out. You're not going to see Zoo come back next year and magically become a tougher dude or a guy that's going to be crossing people up and shooting, step back threes. That's just not his game. And that is more than okay. Not only is that more than okay, that's just kind of the way it is. So again, we'll check that one out. But again, I would expect Zoo to move on permanently. I would also expect Kumwa to not be at the U of A, but that doesn't mean there's not other options out there. We're going to be talking about some of those other options tomorrow, but would very much like to see Arizona get Jaden Bradley. And if Arizona could get Jaden Bradley, I think that that would be a very, very nice feather in Arizona's cap right there. Now, we're going. All right, let's take a quick break, and we're just going to rehash kind of where we are right now and get you ready for tomorrow. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now. Time to just rehash again. Tommy Lloyd been beaten up a lot for, you missing out on Brian Nemhard. You only got 7 scholarship guys right now, but grand scheme of things, I think that if you're Arizona, you're okay because again, in the 2024 class, you're loading up again. If you didn't have that, I think a lot of people would be a little, let's just say, uneasy about where Arizona is, but no reason to be uneasy about any of that because Arizona's got this one figured out. Tommy Lloyd has got this one figured out right here. Now, that doesn't mean that there hasn't been some mistakes made across the way, but guess what? Every coach makes some, and not only does every coach make some, I do believe that the great ones learn. Like we talked about, we gave the Mike Krzyzewski example about a zone. We gave Lute Olson basically revamping his entire style of play. That's because, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, obviously, and the great coaches learn from it, and I think that's what you're going to see happen here with them. So, again, that's kind of where we're at with everything. Now, we're going to take a break, but tomorrow we're going to break down what other possible options Arizona has, and also going to talk a little bit about where Arizona could be with. Let's just be honest here. The front court, if the front court were to kind of stay stationary, you add a couple international kids, and where that would mean for Arizona, because again, I think that Arizona could be a pretty good team next year. So again, all faith in the Tommy gun right there. So again, you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. I'm your host, Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. Back the A. You've been listening to Locked On Wildcats.